Tidbits from TNT, Saturday, October 18, 2025. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. TNT. Tishwash. From Washington. A new banking and economic reform package for Iraq. The Iraqi delegation participating in the Banking Reform Conference in Washington, D.C., on the sidelines of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank meetings, announced a new package of banking and economic reforms on Saturday aimed at strengthening the stability of the financial system and attracting investment. The government has implemented a series of steps as part of the economic and financial reform program, most notably the implementation of comprehensive strategic banking reforms in cooperation with the Central Bank of Iraq and international consulting firms, as well as the preparation of a 3-year budget for the first time in Iraq's history to ensure stable financial planning that attracts investment, said Salah Mahmoud Salman, an advisor to the Iraqi Prime Minister, according to a statement received by Shafaq news agency. He added that, automating the customs system through the implementation of the United Nations ASYCUDA program has led to a significant increase in customs and tax revenues, the restructuring of government banks, Rafadain, Rashid, industrial, and agricultural, and increased their operational efficiency, as well as the expansion of electronic payment systems and increased financial inclusion from less than 10% to more than 40% within 2 years. Salman continued, support programs have been launched for small and medium-sized enterprises to create job opportunities and stimulate the local economy, noting that these steps represent a pivotal stage in the economic reform process and that the government will continue to support the development of the banking sector in cooperation with international institutions. Prior to this, the Central Bank of Iraq announced new instructions to all authorized banks in the country regarding money transfers and customs clearance procedures related to the requirements for the approval of special commercial invoices, with the aim of curbing currency smuggling. This measure comes as part of the efforts of the Central Bank of Iraq and government agencies to develop the financial and administrative environment and improve the level of oversight and compliance with international standards in foreign trade. Tishwash. Highest since 2003. Confirmation of rising non-oil revenues and calls for economic reform. Representative Bassem Nagmish expected on Wednesday that Washington would resort to imposing economic sanctions on Iraq, exploiting the pretext of mismanagement in the oil sector. Nagmish told Al-Maluma agency, "The United States has become accustomed to using titles such as mismanagement or corruption as a cover to interfere in the affairs of countries, and there are indications that it is trying to follow the same approach with Iraq in the oil file." He added, "There is fear that these accusations will be exploited to impose sanctions that may affect oil exports," stressing that their goal is to keep Iraq weak and influence its sovereign decision. Earlier, Representative Intizar al-Musawi considered Trump's statement about Iraqi oil evidence of America's arrogant outlook, and Washington's treatment of Iraq as a source of wealth rather than a sovereign state. Tishwash. Sudanese advisor. Electronic financial inclusion has risen to more than 40%. Prime Minister Salah Mahmoud Salman's advisor confirmed on Friday that the government is continuing to implement comprehensive strategic banking reforms, noting that the government is committed to continuing to implement the economic and financial reform program. The government is committed to continuing to implement the economic and financial reform program aimed at enhancing the efficiency of the banking system and supporting sustainable development in the country, Mahmoud said in a speech he delivered during his participation as a government representative in the Banking Reform Conference organized by the Central Bank of Iraq in cooperation with the international consulting firm, Oliver & Amen, at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Washington, D.C., on the sidelines of the meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. He stressed that the banking sector represents a fundamental pillar in the economic reform process, indicating that the government is continuing to implement comprehensive strategic banking reforms in cooperation with the Central Bank of Iraq, aimed at raising banking standards and enhancing the competitiveness of the financial system. He explained that the government has prepared a 3-year general budget for the first time, which allows for long-term financial planning, achieving stability in resource management, and enhancing the confidence of local and international investors. In the context of diversifying revenues and reducing dependence on oil, he explained that the government has achieved tangible progress in automating the customs system by implementing the United Nations ASYCUDA system, which has led to a clear increase in customs revenues in addition to a significant improvement in tax revenues, noting that the government has implemented a program to restructure government banks, Al Rafidain, Al Rashid, industrial, and agricultural, in cooperation with international consulting companies, with the aim of raising its efficiency and enhancing its ability to provide modern financial services. He pointed out that the government launched programs to expand the use of electronic payment and partnerships with financial technology companies, which contributed to raising the financial inclusion rate to more than 40% after it was less than 10% 2 years ago, which was praised by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, stressing the government's support for small and medium enterprises by providing financing and resources to create new job opportunities and stimulate the local economy. Salman stated that the banking reforms currently being worked on constitute a turning point in the history of Iraq's economic development, and that the government is determined to support all local and international institutions working to develop the banking sector, as it is a pivotal part of the economic growth and financial stability plan. He noted that the government extended its appreciation to the central bank, banks, and international and local advisory teams working in this field. Listen to the full version on the official dinarreport.com website and become our supporter on Patreon. Source: Dinar Recaps.